Now we're going on to our second panel, and again I want to initiate the rock star welcome, and here we go. The theme of the panel is building a community of entrepreneurs, and I'm going to first bring out our moderator, and that is Bob Armstrong, who spent almost 15 years at Ritchie Brothers Auctioneers in a host of roles, including CIO, COO, and CFO. He sits on the board of Rocky Mountaineer and Coast Capital, and if you find yourself at Traction on Tuesdays, you just may run into him, as he plays an important role as a strategic advisor to Greg and the leadership team. To quote Chris Peacock, and I love this, I hadn't met Bob yet, but as soon as I saw this line, I was like, I can't wait to meet Bob. To know Bob is to be Bob's friend. So please welcome your moderator for the panel, Bob Armstrong. Panelist number one. When Greg talked to COO Mike Winterfield into coming on board, it was with the promise that Traction would support Mike when his time came to start his own company. Well, here we go. Mike and Traction have been working with the Jewish Community Center in San Francisco on developing a member management application. The goal of Mike's effort has been to develop a model where rather than have one franchisee absorb the entire cost of the solution, it can be shared across a number of customers and organizations, kind of like crowdfunding. So please welcome Mike Winterfield of Traction Sports and Rec. Rockstar, rockstar, rockstar. Yay! Woohoo! Panelist number two is Dave Nelson, and he heads up Traction Labs, which is the technical incubator that experiments, evaluates, and ultimately designs products from the robust Traction idea farm. Dave and his team have taken the seemingly simple idea of viewing a company's family tree and developed Traction hierarchies. They also took a common customer need to have information on leads and developed Traction Complete. Please welcome Dave Nelson. Yay! Woohoo! Panelist number three, is it Cameron Weeb? Yes, it's Cameron Weeb. He is here. This is so exciting. So we weren't sure if Cameron was going to be here because his wife is due today. So this is so exciting. I wasn't sure. I was going to check in sooner, so I'm so happy it's Cameron Weeb. So one would think that the ability to sign in digitally when entering an office should be standard today. However, that's not the case. While there are solutions out there that can capture contact information and some even integrate into CRM, none have provided the ability to customize the sign-in experience based on the individual. The solution for this, however, is Traction Guest. And Cameron Weeb leads that team, which is now ranked number 3 in the visitor management category with customers in the UK, Ireland, and across North America. Please welcome the soon, very, very, very soon to be new dad, Cameron Weeb. Woohoo! Panelist number 4 is Bryn Anderson, and like Mike, Bryn was assured support in her entrepreneurial pursuits when she first came on board. Bryn is now focused full-time on developing a technology platform known as Binkra to eliminate the significant inhibitors that the clothing industry faces when it comes to connecting products to the right consumers. Bryn will fill us in more, and will hopefully be taking me shopping because I know all about the frustrations of the clothing industry. Please welcome Bryn Anderson. Woo! Panelist number 4 is Sergey Dobryansky. He joined Traction in 2013, and he left his developer chair in 2015 to partner with his dad in pursuit of the moon. That is right, Sergey and his father Alex are the sole Canadian team vying for the $30 million Google Lunar X Prize, which challenges engineers, entrepreneurs, and innovators from around the world to develop low-cost methods of robotic space exploration. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty bad about myself right about now. Please welcome Sergey Dobryansky. Woo! I couldn't figure out the doorbell. Okay, here we go. Panel away.
Thanks very much. Okay, now we transition from stories outside the Traction world to stories that are very much inside the Traction world. On stage today, we have 5 entrepreneurs, all of whom are chasing very, very different journeys, different visions. One of the things that Greg is passionate about, that Traction is very passionate about, is the idea of supporting innovation, and even more importantly, the people that are doing that innovation. And the way Traction does that is by encouraging and creating the network for people to chase their dreams and then supporting them along that journey. We couldn't have 5 more different journeys on stage today, so I'm going to ask each of them a few questions, see if we can't suck a bit more information out of them, and give you guys a bit of an idea of what the Idea Factory at Traction's all about. So we'll start with Big Dave, Dave Nelson. They're all sitting down. You can't see the different heights, so just trust me. If they were standing, Dave would win. So Dave is Director of Products at Traction. He runs the in-house incubator that Traction uses to deal with all the ideas that are coming out of the folks at Traction. You guys have many successful products already out and others in the pipeline. So Dave, what exactly does your team do?
Yeah, so like you said, Labs is either a startup or an incubator of startups within Traction. So we look at all the different potential products in the company and then build those out and take them to market. So whereas Traction, as the broader services business, primarily does services engagements for customers, we're building our own products and selling those. We started probably almost exactly 2 years ago. Actually, we built 3 products at this point, 2 of which are on Force.com. Hierarchies was mentioned, I think, and one of them entirely separate, still on a Salesforce platform, though, on Heroku. And yeah, so they've been very successful. Hierarchies is leading, I think, financially, but we're about $1 million ARR now with about 50,000 customers, or sorry, users.
And at $1 million ARR, you get to keep that, right?
Totally. Yeah. No, unfortunately not. Yeah, so things are going great. We're expanding and building new products all the time.
So I can only imagine, given the smart folks at Traction, that you have a ton of ideas flowing at you and your team. How do you guys decide which ones to chase down?
Yeah, it's tough. So Greg's created an incredible culture that he truly does want to have 100 companies in 10 years. And that's enabled all the employees to come up with their own ideas, bring them up to the team, and try and bring those to market. And so then on a regular basis, we go through and do kind of a lean canvas exercise where we're looking, doing market analysis on all the different options, the potentials. I'm looking at a few different things, primarily, I'd say, the problems that each of those ideas are solving, and how big the market is, and how bad customers are suffering from those problems. And then the other is whether we have kind of an unfair advantage over other people to take those to market. So do we have unparalleled expertise in, like, for example, Force.com, or an incredible partner channel, or existing customers already that we can use? And then we try and decide from that criteria what makes most sense to take to market.
And is there any advantage to being inside Traction to do this? I mean, you could do this on your own in your basement. Is there any advantage to you and your team to being part of Traction?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I mean, like Greg had mentioned before, we're entirely self-funded, and so we can have the luxury of being a startup within a comfortable environment where there isn't a lot of stress, and we have all this breadth of knowledge. Cam and the rest of the team that are incredible developers, designers, and whatnot, and that so we have the infrastructure in place to take that out to the market and spin out products really quickly.
Cool. And that was also a brilliant segue to Cam, who I need to talk to next because if he has a baby and has to go, it'd be really suck if we hadn't talked to you. Hey, Cam, so you are a coder, you're a developer, you're a designer, you've done lots of stuff.
Yeah.
You're currently leading Traction Guest, which is one of the big products that's come out of the Traction team. You all used Guest today when you signed in, but Guest is way more than a sign-in at a conference app. It does a lot of different things. It's a platform that can be used for a very wide range. So can you give these guys a bit of a flavor for how big the Guest opportunity is? What is Guest?
Sure. Well, so Guest is a front desk check-in application as well as you've seen
I said it was
today.
more than that.
Yeah, events check-in. But yeah, what makes it cool is that we've actually built this platform, and we're using web technologies on the mobile device itself, so that we can essentially control exactly how the app looks and how the app works on the front end. Through a configuration on the back end. So essentially it's a data collection tool of any kind, and we can kind of create an experience in the back end and have that sync down, and you have basically a completely new app.
So there's a bunch of different versions out there, people using it for different purposes.
Yes.
What are maybe 2 really totally different examples of things people are doing with it today?
So people are using it for on-site training, to bring up videos, basically safety orientation videos for on-site check-ins and registrations and that kind of thing. So that's one interesting example of how people are using it.
Very cool. Now, one of the things we were trying to do with this group was to sort of highlight the different types of folks and different paths people can take to kind of become entrepreneurs. And we'll get to the rocket scientist in a minute. But you're a graphic designer. So how does one go from being a graphic designer to what you're doing now? That's a twisted path, my friend.
Yeah, curiosity, I guess. I think something that Traction has done very well is created an environment where curiosity, creativity is encouraged and nourished. And I think that's super important. If you have an idea and you want to keep up with technology, you need to be free to experiment with it and just to be creative and see where it takes you, right?
And Traction let you do that.
Yes.
Magic. Thanks, Cam. And you can go have your baby now.
Okay, excellent.
Lee, he's coming. He's coming, Lee. You can send him the fax now. Fax, that's old.
Fax.
Yeah, maybe telex. Next up is Mike Winterfield. So Mike's also taken a different path. Mike is the COO at Traction, but I think in a parallel universe, he's more of an entrepreneur. He's currently spending 99% of his time driving the development, the launch, the whole business of what we call TractionForce and Rec. It's a brand new application that's being developed. It's probably one of the most disruptive projects currently underway at Traction. We call it TractionForce and Rec. It grew out of work the Traction team was doing for a couple of customers, clients, that had very specific needs. And Mike, maybe you could start there. I mean, what was the value proposition for this first group of customers that was so unusual?
I think that the strangest thing was the funding model. So I think it's a really cool story and might become the launch pad for us for some other ideas. But basically, we were working with a customer, the Jewish Community Center of San Francisco. Glad they're here. And yeah, we dreamt up together this idea, kind of like almost like a crowdfunding model, where their desires of a very customized version of Salesforce to extend the capabilities of Salesforce required a lot of services to do that. And they certainly didn't have the budget to do everything they would love to do in an ideal state. But they convinced us, hey, there's a lot of other JCCs that would need this exact same functionality. So we went down the path of them of trying to figure out what was common amongst a lot of different JCCs. And we said, what if we could create this model where we could provide our services at pennies on the dollar because what was needed was common.
So your cheering section in the front row, they know exactly what this thing does. The rest of us maybe don't. What does the TractionForce and Rec do?
So we're coming after the sports and recreation market. So the core modules are things like membership management, facility management, program management, donation management, and so on. But if you think of the types of organizations that would utilize software like this, it would be JCCs, of course, YMCAs. You could think of your local community center, maybe even gyms, yoga centers, daycares. We're finding more and more use cases as we go along.
Sounds like it could be a lot of work for a lot of years.
Yes, I think so.
So what kind of opportunities has this created for the folks at Traction? Again, we're talking about how innovative entrepreneurial ideas at Traction get spawned. This sounds like a great one for you. How does it help the team at Traction?
So it has been for me. It's been a great opportunity to learn new things for me, but also for a number of other people within the Traction family. And so one of our core values is to create opportunity. And you've heard some aspirational goals of the organization to grow to 100 companies in 10 years. And so what we see with this model is we had originally thought that Traction would be more of a traditional VC, where we would support and invest in the ideas of our employees. And then, as Dave mentioned, what we've realized is that we have this tremendous wealth of IP and knowledge that we've learned with different customers, and we're becoming a little bit more of an incubator. And so when you have that opportunity to incubate and allow any employee in the organization to put their hand up and become involved in one of these projects, they get to see something through from right from conception all the way to being an independent operating company.
You guys are like nailing it with the segues. So this is what Bryn did. Bryn used to work at Traction. By the way, you can see 3 blue shirts, current Traction staff and team members, and 2, sorry guys, get your blue shirts at the door. Bryn and Sergey used to work at Traction, but they had big dreams that required heading outside, and Traction said, yeah, great, we will support that. Yep. So Bryn, you were at Traction, you had a cool idea. Yep. You decided it was time to chase your field of dreams. Greg said, yep, we'll fund that. Yep. And now you're off doing something called BINCRA. Mm-hmm. What is BINCRA?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about it a little bit vaguely because we're not out to market yet. It's very stealthy. But we're essentially a SaaS platform that will be offering to retailers that want to give their customers a more personalized experience on their web store and in-store. So that's kind of the broader vision, and then we're planning on tackling that feature at a time.
So that's a pretty stealthy answer. I think I learned nothing from that. That's
Yep.
good. But I happen to know that it has something to do with the apparel and footwear world, and so probably there was some kind of problem or inefficiency in that world you were trying to solve. Can you tell us what that was, or is this really a short interview?
Yeah, so, and I have a minute? Just kidding. So we're looking at it at both the industry and the individual perspective. So as an industry, clothing has a pretty huge environmental impact on the world, and some of the metrics that we look at are that the return rate for online purchases is 35 to 50% for retailers. So it's not just a problem for the consumer, it's a problem for the retailer as well. So how do we get to a point where we can now make that number go down and cut down on the shipping and inventory costs and the impact to the consumer? And then on the individual side, it's still a fairly emotional experience shopping for clothes, and I've talked to enough guys to understand that it is for them as well. It's kind of interesting that we dove into this specific area of size and fit, and that gives you a little more information on what we're focused on initially. But because there's kind of this idea that there's standardized sizing available. Like women's, there's about 20 sizes that you generally point to that represent the sizes that are available in the industry. But the reality is that there's one marketplace, large marketplace, said that they have about 200,000 different body types that are represented by the clothing that's available on their site alone. So we don't really want them to go down to the 20 sizes because that doesn't represent everybody, but there needs to be tool sets in place that facilitate finding clothing a lot easier. So that's really kind of our focus and what we pay attention to, at least initially.
So you've identified a problem that's out there. That's a real problem. Nobody else
these are
has
all
tackled
very,
it.
very big problems. Yeah,
And you're going to solve it from little old Vancouver.
Yep. Actually, yeah. So we started in San Francisco, and my co-founder and I are both Canadian, and loved the San Francisco environment, and thought, hey, this is a great opportunity to kind of make this a West Coast company. So brought it up to Vancouver about a year and a half ago, and that's when we met Greg and team, and yeah, we've been running it out of Vancouver since then.
Cool. Congratulations and good luck. That's a great story.
Thank you. Thanks.
So, Cam, Dave, and Mike, you guys did not get applause. I noticed that, but okay. Hey, look, no panel would be complete without a rocket scientist, and so I asked if they could just find me, any particular rocket scientist. It turns out Sergey is a rocket scientist. Sergey was on He was on the development team at Traction for a couple of years, and then this amazing opportunity with his dad to compete for the Google Lunar X Prize. It's a $38 million prize. We're talking about space transportation, very similar to Bryn's project in the fashion industry. So there's a variety of routes one can go from Traction. I must admit, I don't know a lot about the Lunar X Prize. They didn't contact me to participate. So could you start by giving us a bit of an idea of what exactly is this, and how did you get into this? This is crazy.
Sure, yeah. Thank you for the compliment of being a rocket scientist, but not quite there yet. The Google Lunar X Prize is an international competition to send a rover to the lunar surface, have it travel 500 meters, and stream high-definition video back. It's an incentive to push entrepreneurs, innovators, inventors, marketers to make space more economic and commercialization of space. Yes, we've been in the competition for 5 years. We're the only Canadian team in the run. And it's interesting, for the last 5 years, I've been saying the next 2 months, it's a make or break, and I've been saying that for the last 5 years. And it's good that we stuck to our guns, because there's actually a window for us, for Canadian rover, to land next year. With the information that I have, there's that shot, and we should do everything we can to exercise that opportunity.
So, I mean, that's extremely cool. I agree with the applause, but I'll just be provocative for a minute. Last time I checked, there's a ton of problems and issues right here on Earth. Smart guys like you should be solving or could be solving all of those. What's the reason that we should be solving space problems and commercializing space?
Good question. Tough question. At this moment, we're kind of just scraping the surface of what space exploration has and the ROI of space. Companies are just now figuring that out. And if you look back when the internet came out, we really just looked at it and we noticed the potential, but it was hard to see where it would take us. And right now, the internet is vital to our businesses. It's vital to our daily routines. And that's kind of where the space industry is right now. It's at that pioneering place where the playing field is still moldable. You could still get a foothold in it right now. And some companies are now answering the ROI of space. Some companies building out broadband satellites. So we're talking about internet on the global scale. And potentially, if everything goes well, within 4 or 5 years, Salesforce will be running through those satellites. It won't be the cloud-based technology. It will be low Earth orbit technology or something like that. So it's basically becoming a vital time to get a foothold in there, and while it's still in the pioneering stages. And yesterday, Mike Winterfield was asking me, "Are you going to bring a prop?" And I did bring a prop. This is kind of in line with
prop.
Yeah, ready? This is a gear. This was printed out of the same materials that you find on the lunar surface. And this is the first candidate for a 3D print. This is potentially a candidate for a first 3D print on the lunar surface, and that's kind of our vision. And we're now chased with we have a decision to make. Are we going to send a Canadian rover to the moon, or are we going to send a printer? Because you could imagine if we were to get a picture or a print successful there, I think people in this world will start to understand what the ROI is and why should we invest in space.
Wow. That's more inspiring than my background in accounting. So, yes. So thank you guys very much. That was a particularly diverse panel, and I mean, I've known most of you for quite a while, and it's kind of fun to actually hear a bit more of the story and hear the passion behind the stories. So we're going to head off stage now and get ready for coming back, answering questions again. If any of you have any questions for these panelists that I didn't make up or ask, you know the app, send it in, and we'll try and attack them at the end. Once again, big round of applause. Thank you for these panelists.